Hello and welcome. Well, they call it the race that stops the nation, the Melbourne Cup. And if you ask any Australian jockey, it's the race that they really want to win. Corey Brown has been successful on two occasions. In 2009, he was successful aboard the Mark Kavanagh train, Shocking. And he backed it up in 2017 with another win on Rekindling. But this year has not been a great year for Corey. A bad race fall midway through the year has left him sidelined. I caught up with Corey this week to talk about his career and what lies ahead after such a horrific race fall.
Well, Corey Brown, thank you for sitting down with me, having a chat.
Pleasure.
Corey, can we start where it all started, I guess, at Wingham? Was it always something that you wanted to become a rider?
Oh, well, Steve, I was sort of born and bred into racing. My father was a country jockey, as well as his brother and my grandfather. So, yeah, I was sort of born and bred into it. I didn't have a great liking for it, I'll be honest, as a young kid. I love rodeos. I grew up a couple of houses down from the local showground, so I was right into the rodeos. But look, I think by the time, maybe year 6 or 7, I remember back in primary school, our teacher, who I still remain in contact with, John Tyso, he used to hold a sweepstake for the Melbourne Cup. And I won the sweepstake one year with just a dash, Peter Cook. And from that sort of moment onwards, I remember sort of falling in love and thinking, I'd really like to do this. Again, I sort of always around a race course as a young kid. Fond memories. I remember even going down to stay with Dad or going to the track early mornings, and when the horses were coming off the track Dad had ridden, he'd hop off and throw me up in the saddle and let me walk back to the stables on the horse. So, yeah, I couldn't pinpoint the age, but it was quite young.
Pretty early, yeah. So you went from Taree and you found your way down to Neil Campton's stable via the Central Coast. How was it in the Big Smoke with Neil Campton?
I couldn't wait to get to the Big Smoke. I actually probably arrived a little bit too soon. I done obviously my first 12 months at Taree and hadn't ridden the winners or ridden out any claim or anything like that, but I just couldn't wait to get to the Big Smoke, and I actually got there because of Malcolm Johnson. I rode a winner one day. I think it was at, I couldn't be honest, I think it was at like Newcastle or somewhere like that, and Malcolm Johnson approached me and he says, "Oh mate, what are you doing?" He said, you should be in town. So I actually said, "Oh, if you could get me there." He said, "I've never been to the city." I said, "If you can get me there, I'll go." And he was great friends with Neil Campton, so I ended up doing my last 2.5 years with Neil. And
actually, Neil Campton produced the first reasonable horse for you to win on, which was Brawago.
Yeah, actually Johnny Tapp, great guy, Johnny, and I was lucky enough, I picked up the ride after Malcolm had ridden the horse. I was still a claiming apprentice, and it's very good of me. I think I won 4 races straight on him at Rose Hill, so he was a show pony, the horse, but he was good for my career.
Yeah. Now your first Group 1 came at Rose Hill in the form of Camino Rose.
Yeah, I'd had a few Group 1 seconds prior to that. It's getting quite frustrating. I was 21 at the time, and probably should have ridden a couple of Group 1s before I got to that stage, but I remember it vividly. Mark Connors, I'd never ridden her before. Again, she was a flashy horse as well. She was really, really dark. She was black. She had a great running transit, but it was a very exciting moment. It was followed up a week later with referral, so they started flowing after that. But again, it was vivid memory of mine, and definitely.
Which usually happens when you ride your first Group 1. The others tend to sort of like follow on. In fact, 2003 was a great day for you here on Epsom Day. 3 Group 1 wins in one day. I mean, you must have thought, how good is this?
That day was an amazing day. I actually rode 4 winners on the day, the other one being a listed winner. It was probably one of my best days on a race course, to be honest. I come out, I never forget it, I come out for the last leg in the Epsom, and I was riding for a great mate of mine, Damien Flower, and Damien, being a punter, he was really frustrated, and he was angry, and I was like, "What are you angry about?" And he said, "How can you ride 3 Group 1 winners in a day?" And I said, "Well, Klangling doesn't know that I've already ridden 2, so..." Actually the horse, it was so funny how it happened. He was buried away, and I don't even think he was in the call. I don't think they called him until about the 100, and I sort of burst through at the 100. And again, like, he never ever looked the winner, but he spread out wings from the 100 and managed to get there. But that was again probably one of my best days in the racecourse.
Fantastic. Now, growing up, as you wanted to be a jockey, of course, every jockey's dream would be to ride in the Melbourne Cup. You've not only done that, but you've ridden 2 wins. Now, in 2009, in transit, you must have thinking, this horse can't win. Because
Steve,
you were 3 deep most of the way.
Yeah, I did get into one off the fence. People say that, I travelled the entire race 3 deep. That's not the fact. I actually got into one off the fence.
And mind you, it wasn't your fault.
No, that's right. But the trouble was I still had 2 horses inside me, so I copped a lengthy suspension because of that. But I think what helped me out that year was we went so slow in the race, and once I knew that I was posied up 3 deep, I just let the horse be comfortable, stay in rhythm, getting breathing properly. And again, I think it was just because the races run at such a slow pace, and all the other horses that had cover, they were pulling and fighting, where my bloke was nice and relaxed. He was in a great breathing pattern. And I was lucky enough, Kieran McAvoy got pushed out on a horse called Crime Scene, Godolphin. That was at about the 800 metre mark, and the moment I sort of popped on the Crime Scene's back, it was such a funny feeling, because the moment I got onto his back, my horse he went to sleep, so to speak. Not that he was over racing, again, he was really relaxed, but it was just like he gave himself this massive breather, because he had cover right through until probably the 400.
And that must have taken you by surprise, because at the extra ground you probably were covering, and you're thinking, this horse can't have much to give me in the straight, but he did.
Mate, he travelled up. Oh, mate, it's easy to say after the fact, but it was such a weird feeling. I knew that I had the race won a long way out. It was really, really weird. I knew if something's coming from behind me, it's going to have to be really good. So I only carried 51 kilos, but yeah, look, travelling 3 wide, I didn't think I could win. But again, from the 800, I knew I was going to be very hard to hold out.
Now, is my recollection correct? Did you only pick up that ride on the Saturday?
It's funny, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that went on. People thought that I picked up the ride from Michael Rod, because he rode it in, I think it was the McKinnon or the Lexus on the Saturday, which he ended up winning. But no, I'd actually partnered the horse a good few times before. Mark Kavanagh contacted me months in advance of the Melbourne Cup, knowing that Jockey was going to get a lightweight. So I had partnered him a few times before. But I run 3rd on a horse called, not Viewed. It's one of Denny O'Brien's horses. Anyway, I run 3rd in the Caulfield Cup on this horse. And my manager quickly snapped up the ride for the Melbourne Cup. But on order of entry, he was like, I would say, 40th. And he was never going to get in the race. So I contacted Mark Kavanagh behind my manager's back and said, do not book a rider until Saturday for Shocking. And he was really, he actually had a good go at me, like he said, how am I meant to get an owner to hold off until Saturday? And I said, well, look, I know you're going to get the same jockey whether you book him now or wait till Saturday night. And that being Stephen Baster, because I know Steve used to ride for him and could ride the weight. But I was lucky enough that they held off until the Saturday night. And he did say, he said, well, you're not riding him on the Saturday. I said, that's fine. I said, as long as I'm riding him on the Tuesday. And, the rest is history.
And tell me about the euphoria, because only the person who has ridden a Melbourne Cup winner can tell you what the euphoria is like when you pass that post and you're pulling up and whoever's doing the interview on the pony rides alongside you.
It's amazing, Steve. Like you watch it every year, and you see these jockeys on the pull up, and you've ridden big winners, but the excitement that goes through your body, if you could bottle it, it'd be priceless, to sell. I don't know whether mine was a bit better in 09 on Shocking, because the year before I run such a close second on Bauer, and to have that nightmare, to watch that race over and over again, I even had an old guy come to the races at Magic Millions just straight after the Melbourne Cup, and I was rushing to get out of the car and into the jockey's room, and he asked me to sign a photo for him. I said, yeah, no dramas.
And it was the
and
Melbourne
I
Cup.
turned around, it's the Melbourne Cup, and I denied. I said, mate, I can't do that. I said, that's like asking Anthony Mundine, I said, when he was lying on the canvas, to sign a photo. I said, I can't do that. So again, I don't know whether mine it felt better because of the close second the year before, but mate, it's amazing. You know, you watch movies and you see people where they go into this like bubble and there's no noise.
Yeah.
And from the 100 or the 200 metre mark, once I knew I was going to win, through to after, it was just this silence. It was like I was in my own little world. And it's hard to believe that actually happens, but it does.
Yeah.
But mate, again, to describe it or to, mate, it's a surreal feeling. Like
No, as I say, only people who've experienced it can actually know what it feels like.
Correct.
But of course, fast forward to 2017 and rekindled, a complete contrast to the ride of Jockey. You never went round a horse.
Yeah, well, I drew soft on him as well in 4, so I was always going to get a good run on him. But he was another horse, you know. He come down here as a 3-year-old, but in the Northern Hemisphere, he come down as a Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old and down here as a 4-year-old. So we picked the horse a long time before the race, and luckily enough, Lloyd Williams, obviously booked me for the ride a long way out. But yeah, mate, that was another, like, it was just everywhere I pointed him, you know, it was meant to be, so to speak. I was following Zach Dynamite, Zach O'Purton, a great mate of mine, and that day at Flemington you couldn't get any wider than 2 or 3 off the fence, and approaching the 600 metre mark I was following Zach, and I could see what Zach was thinking, you know, and he sort of dove back in to go to the inside, and just the heavens opened for me, you know, and I just sort of rolled out and sort of come around the rest of the field. Once I got Benny Mellum's back, I was sort of like quietly rolling me mo, thinking, oh mate, I'll pick you up, because I've done no work, and you know, even though I'm out in the part of the track where we're not meant to be, I thought if you're as good as what you've shown me in Europe, you'll pick Johannes Vermeer up. And
And whose idea was it? Because last year, I think you identified your Melbourne Cup ride about 10 months out. Whose idea is that? Yours or your manager's?
No, we bang heads, me and the manager.
Yep.
I'll be honest, he found rekindling the year before. Magic Circle, we'd sort of picked him out knowing that he was probably getting a little bit too much weight for the Melbourne Cup. I think he only ended up carrying 55 or something, but it probably wasn't ideal for him. But yeah, no, the manager and I, we sort of, especially the Melbourne Cups or any Group 1 races, we sort of lay all the cards on the table and obviously try and pick the best one out of them. But yeah, no, we definitely, in the big ones, you work as a team, for sure.
Brilliant. Well, of course, they're the glory times in racing, but unfortunately at the moment, you've got a extended stint on the sideline through a race fall earlier this year. I know I've done a bit of pilot training, and I can successfully fly a Cessna. And during training, they take you through every emergency scenario. But I imagine as a jockey, you don't get that luxury. So if something's going to happen in the race, you're either it's going to go like that, or you're going to see it coming. Which is the worst? Seeing it coming and knowing there's nothing you can do about it?
It's amazing what goes through your mind, Steve. Like when it is coming, like it was in Brisbane in the Derby, in a normal bit of interference, you'll yell out to the other jockeys, and everyone's aware of what's sort of going on, or you can notify them, that something's wrong. But it's amazing when you're in that danger zone, you just hold your breath and sort of wait for it to come, because it's like a bit of a calm before the storm. It's not long, but it's a really weird feeling. But mate, it happens in a split second. But what goes through your mind is incredible. What flashes through your mind. But not a great place to be.
No.
But been there a few times, so
incredibly frightening. Now I did read a report where you said once you hit the ground the first time you felt you were going to be okay, but then the second time you knew there was a problem.
Yeah, well, when I hit the ground the first time, I sort of, there wasn't much bounce about it, but I thought, I'm fine, because you know the horse is going to be coming soon behind you. So after the first bounce, I was fine, but by the time I'd hit the ground the second time and rolled, I could feel a massive pain in my back. I was extremely winded. And then unfortunately the horse actually broke his leg in the fall, and he kept trying to get up, and I'm lying right beside him, and me not to know, I got up and walked a half a dozen strides and lied back down again. Again, I knew I hadn't, done super damage because my arms and legs were working, but by the time I got to the hospital, I knew I was in sort of serious trouble. Again, I could move my limbs, but
Which must have been incredibly relieving to you, knowing the fact that you could move your limbs.
yeah, but I knew I was in a lot of trouble because normally they give you the pain relief, the green whistle, and the green whistle was doing nothing at all. And when I got to the hospital, I think the nurses had had enough of me. I was asking for some serious painkillers, and they wouldn't really give them to me.
Yeah.
But once I had the CAT scan and they sort of knew what was wrong, they quickly obviously got drips in my arm and shoved me full of painkillers. But again, it was good, but it wasn't good. And I actually thought, when I was viewing the X-rays and I viewed the race fall, I thought the horse had sort of trailed me and come around me after the fall, had kicked me in the back.
Yep.
But after going to the spine specialist here in Sydney, Dr. Cree said no. He said, what's actually happened? Because I cracked my sternum and punctured my lung, broke a rib. He said it's from the impact of hitting the ground with my chest and my chin.
Right.
So it's basically all the pressures hit me in the front and exploded down my back. So that's what's broken my back. It's nothing kicking it. It's just the force that I've hit the ground.
Yep.
So again, unlucky, but very, very lucky.
So, how worse off do you think you might have been had you not been wearing a vest?
It's hard to say, Steve. Like, I wouldn't ride a horse without a vest. I know when we first, they come compulsory, no one wanted them, and there's been, like a list of complaints saying that they have neck injuries and stuff like that. Again, I wouldn't, dare get on a horse without the vest anymore. I think it helped me. It may have been a hindrance to me, I don't know, but again, in my mind, I think it helped me, and I definitely wouldn't be riding without one.
So the prognosis now is probably, 12 months on the sideline?
Dr. Cree said there's definitely won't be pulling the contraption that I've got stuck in my back out for at least 9 months, and then it could be a good 3 to 4 months until that mends. So I'm looking at earliest probably 15 months.
Okay.
That's all going well, but so far so good.
You have to come back to the track, Corey, because you sit on 49 Group 1 wins. You've got to crack that half century.
I've got to get the half century. I've actually ridden, I think it's 52, but the Group 1 wins that I've ridden aren't classed as Group 1 wins. But anyway, they're not in Australia, so we're still on 49.
Good luck in your recovery, Corey, and thanks once again for spending some time with me.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.